All right, back for another beer review, and today I will be reviewing a beer from Adroit Theory, and they are out of Purcellville, Virginia, and this is their 200, aka Ghost 1073. So they're calling this one an extremely extreme Russian Imperial Stout, and it is brewed with toasted coconut, cacao nibs, peanut butter, pretzels, and maple syrup. It comes in at 14% alcohol by volume. No IBUs. Listen, time overview. This can is approximately 4 months old. I'm going to give a huge thanks and shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and fellow BeerTuber, Ridge, over at Ridgeopolus, aka Get a Nose on a Beer Reviews, for hooking me up with this one. So big thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to not only his channel, but the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies he hooked me up with. And Ridge is a great guy. Now, he loves his hop forward beers. He loves his hazies. But he's been reviewing quite a few stouts recently and really enjoying them. And Bridge, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he said this is his favorite stout to date. He absolutely loved this one. He reviewed it with his buddy Ryan, aka Bear, and I think he reviewed it with him. All I know is they both love this beer, and Ridge was going nuts over it. And I mean, I've had some Adroit Theory, and I've enjoyed what I've had from them, but I've never had something like this from them. Now, this is a collaboration with Decibel Magazine. Outside of that, not much more that they say about it. Canned in September of 2021. It was early September. The exact date is September 8th, and we're drinking this one, like I said, approximately 4 months from that date, and I'm really excited. So I cannot wait to see what this one's all about. Again, Ridge and Bear, they went nuts over this one. I'm all about it. So let's see. Of course, it's stout, so it goes everywhere. It's gushing out a little bit, and it's okay by me. Let's give it a pour here. Go about halfway. You know, this is a big stout. We're not trying to get hammered yet. I'm not really trying to get hammered at all anymore because I can't, but that poured out not as thick and syrupy as I thought at 14%. It poured out a darker brown, like almost cola. It's dark brown here at the bottom, more of a black up here. On camera, it's going to look pitch black. Has about a finger, about a finger, 3/4 of a finger of a straight up brown colored head. There are alcohol sheets. It's probably not going to show up on camera, but there are sheets. Holy shit, that thing looks crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of alcohol in this. Let's get a nose. It's... Hang on, my brain just had a brain fart because there's so many things that just hit me at once that I'm like, how do I process this? I probably don't. Rich, you're tugging on my heartstrings, or well, the strings that still remain on my heart. This smells to me like chocolate-covered pretzels. It's crazy. Now they're using toasted coconut, cacao nibs, peanuts, pretzels, and maple syrup. I'm getting the cacao nibs and the pretzels, chocolate-covered pretzels all day. There's maybe a little bit of nuttiness. I wouldn't say necessarily peanuts, but definitely getting a nuttiness. And then there's just a shit ton of chocolate in general. There's darker, kind of more bittering chocolate, like a 60 or 70% cacao bar. There's a little bit of like a sweeter dark chocolate in here as well. Not really getting the toasted coconut or the maple. It's just that chocolate-covered pretzel kind of vibe is just winning out for me. There is a big roasted, almost charry kind of malt sensation from the base 14% Russian Imperial Stout. Extremely extreme Russian Imperial Stout. It smells sweet, but I have an idea at 14% that this is going to be sweet. It's going to lean sweeter. I get it. I'm just hoping there's enough of that like roasty, ashy, almost kind of malt character. Maybe they hop this quite well because it is a Russian Imperial Stout. I always expect more of a big hop bite on the back of the palate. So I'm hoping that is the case because with all of those adjuncts, plus it being 14%, how much malt they're using, there has to be something to balance this out. Otherwise, this is going to be super sweet and just over the top. And maybe that's why Ridge likes it because I know Ridge doesn't like coffee. There is no coffee in here, which again, makes sense. This smells awesome. I just hope it's not that sweet. So anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everybody, and thanks again, Ridge. Ooh. That is so fucking cool, but also, I don't know what just happened. The finish of this beer is just fantastic, but I can't pinpoint what's happening on my palate. I'm so pissed off right now at myself. I think this beer has broken my palate in general. Body, this is lower side of full, almost full. I will say it's a bit thin at 14%. I'm thinking I should be chewing on this one, and I'm not. But it's not thin from a beer standpoint, because this does have a pretty thick body. It's just not as big for a 14% beer, but I don't really care. The mouthfeel, it's very soft, it's very smooth, it's creamy. There's carbonation to let you know it's a beer, but it's mildly carbonated. This would be like a 40-minute review because I don't even know where to begin with this beer. So right up front, I'm hitting with roasted malt. It's not ashy, it's not charry, but it's firmly roasted. Then there's this nice bittering type of chocolate. Like I said, 60 to 70% cacao bar. But then it starts evolving into a sweeter dark chocolate and then into a sweet milk chocolate. So it starts out bittering, but as it crosses the palate, it becomes sweeter and sweeter, probably as the malt kind of hits the palate and starts to envelop the palate. Right after that, I'm getting this salty, almost slightly grainy thing that reminds me of, because I know there's pretzels in here, I'm going to say pretzels. But if I was doing it blind, I probably wouldn't say pretzels, but it's just weird how it happens. So again, chocolate-covered pretzels, yes. So that's the front half of the palate. There's maybe a little bit of like a coffee roast, but that's getting kind of lost with the roasted malt. You could confuse them for, either one. As it finishes, I think I'm getting like this combination of like a coconut and maple syrup finish. And I think that's what's kind of throwing my palate for a loop, because that's not a common, tasting note that I get in any beers. There's not a lot of beers I drink with toasted coconut and maple in it, and I'm actually getting them on the palate, but I feel that's what's happening. Like almost, maple drizzled, like shredded coconut or toasted coconut. I'm really not getting the peanuts, but I could have, maybe middle of the palate with the pretzel. Maybe there's a peanut kind of slight nuttiness happening, but I'm reaching for that. So I thought this was going to be super fucking sweet, right? Is it sweet? Yeah. It's a 14% Russian Imperial Stout with 5 different adjuncts. It's going to be sweet. Is it too sweet? I think it's definitely leaning to close to being cloying. That's why a beer like this, you should share. And I am sharing with Pops. Average Pops will get the rest of that can, because there's no way I'm going to be able to drink this entire can. It's just not safe to do so for me. But I will say I'm going to pour probably whatever I deem to be half of the can. So go like that. I think that's about half. I think half of this can's perfect. So those 8-ounce cans, and I've mentioned it in so many reviews recently, the 8-ounce cans of this, these big stouts that some brewers are doing, I wish this was in an 8-ounce can, or you're sharing it with someone else. It finishes sweet. I think by the time I drink the 8 ounces, I'm going to be done. I will say I think this beer would be cloying if you drank the entire 16 ounces. I don't think a beer like this should be in a 16-ounce vessel of any sort. Should be 12 ounces max, probably 8. So yeah, on the back of the palate, there's really no bittering aspect. There's a semi-dry type of thing going on. But for the most part, this finish is sweet and lean sweet. Here's the thing. For 14%, this is a fucking crazy voodoo-like beer, because I know it's a bigger beer based on everything that's in my glass. I've drank enough beers in my life and enough big beers to know when I'm drinking something that is, approaching, 12, 13, 14%. So I can tell you, if I was doing this blind, I'd guess at least 11, 12%, just based on what I'm tasting. There's almost no astringency on the palate. There is a warming into the chest, into the stomach, but I would guess 11, 12 doing this blind. I don't think I'd go over 12. So this hides the alcohol extremely well for something that's 14%. Question is, do I like it? You're fucking right, I do, because this is delicious. I love that chocolate-covered pretzel presence. That's, pretty much the predominant note on the palate. I like that toasted coconut maple finish. Like I said, not really getting the peanuts, don't really care. This is just, it took my palate for a ride that I don't think it was ready for. It's one of those beers where, like, you look at those adjuncts, you're like, okay, there's 5 different adjuncts. This is a big 14% Russian Imperial Stout. you know there's going to be a lot of flavor to this one, and there is, but my palate just could not process what was going on. Halfway through this beer, I finally started figuring it out a little bit, and what I like out of a beer like this is exactly what I'm getting in the glass, and I'm happy. Is it one of the best Imperial Stouts I've ever had? No. But I've had a lot of Imperial Stouts. I've had a lot of adjunct Imperial Stouts. I've had a lot of barrel-aged Imperial Stouts. So this does not, get into my top 5, top 10. But I will say this. It's a fucking delicious beer. So I'm going to give 200, aka Ghost 1073 from Adroit Theory, sent to me by my good buddy Ridge. I'm going to give this a high 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.6 out of 5. I think that's a fair score because this is fucking phenomenal. And I'm going to drink the rest of this, which is what, like 4 or 5 ounces. I'm going to enjoy this. And maybe it won't be too cloying because I'm sipping on it and there's not... A lot of times when a beer is too sweet and too cloying, about at this point where I've drank 3 or 4 ounces, that's when I start to know, like, oh, if you drink another 3 to 4 ounces, you're not going to be feeling great. You're going to be done. You're going to be kind of sick of that beer. I don't think I'm at that point yet. So I think I'm going to be able to drink the rest of this and be okay with it. I still stand by. I don't think that I'll be able to drink the rest of that can. And luckily I don't have to. Price and availability, this is where Ridge, you chime in. I don't know what you paid for this. I would imagine you bought 4 packs of it, maybe with single cans. I would hope something like this isn't more than like $10 a can. I mean, you're talking a 16-ounce can of something that's 14% with all those adjuncts. So I get maybe paying more, but if this is more than $10 a can, I probably wouldn't buy it, but I don't know, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe just to try it. I wouldn't. Would I rebuy it if it was $10 a can? I might. I don't know. If it's $9.99 for a can of this, I might buy it. I don't know. It's pretty fucking delicious. And availability, I have no idea with Adroit Theory. I've only had beers in the past, courtesy of friends who have given me bottles and cans of it before. We don't get them here in the West New York area. So again, if anybody knows about their distribution footprint, let me know. And if you've had this beer before, I think they did 2 different versions of this. I think the other one had like white chocolate and something else in it. But yeah, if you've had this one before, let me know what you think about it. If you've had any like crazy big style from Adroit Theory, let me know. Thanks again to Ridge for this one. Go over to Ridge's channel, say hi, sub to his channel. Go check out his review of this one, which I'm pretty sure he did it with Ryan. He might have done it with Ryan and his father. I can't remember. But I do remember him really digging this one. So yeah, not much more to say about it. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.